What's up, guys? My name is Marcus Heskins. Thank you for joining me. As always, if you enjoy what I do, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and also make sure you hit that notification bell so you can be made aware as new content becomes available. In a previous set of videos, we took a look at using the pattern editor and some of the different workflows that you have with the pattern editor. Now, one piece of feedback that came up in the comments, and one thing that I hear a lot, people reaching out to me privately, is with respect to automating pitch of different lanes when working with pattern parts in Studio One. So I know this is something that a lot of people who are coming from FL Studio are used to. And what I thought we would do is take a look at the two different ways in which you can automate these different lanes when working with pattern parts, more specifically with Impact XT. So we're going to use the same example that we did in the previous set of videos. So if we take a look at the hi-hats, let's solo these out here. In fact, we'll solo out the hats close too, right over here. Okay, so there's two different approaches for automating any of these lanes. The first approach is event-based and variation-based, if you will. So all we need to do is, let's select the hats part, and I'm just going to click this pitch parameter where it says transpose. Now it's lit up in this corner over here. And what I can do is just drag this directly into this blank area, and you'll see create sample transpose automation. Now, once we do that, we have a new lane where we had velocity, repeat, delay, probability, and now we have this area over here, sample transpose. So let's take a look at these hi-hats over here. I could move them up, or I could move them down. Let's go down -4. Now, one thing to note over here is that this goes by the actual grid length in terms of the resolution. So we've extended this one pitch block over here. We've extended this out from a 16th note to be an 8th note. So you see we actually have two different areas, and I could automate these differently if I wanted. But one thing to take note of here is that this will always be linked to that variation, and it will play repeatedly. This particular pattern part is a 1-bar pattern. So this means that it would always be happening. So that may or may not be what we want. So I'm going to right click and let's reset. Now there's another way that we can do this as well. So let's open this again. I'm just going to click the pad that I want to automate, and then we have our transpose area. Let's command click or control that to bring it back to Unity. So now, if you're not seeing this over here, if we click this drop-down arrow, whoops, this one over here, we have the option to choose between mouse over and recently touched. I always leave this on recently touched because if you're on mouse over, you might drag your mouse over something else and this will disappear. So if you're not seeing that, this is what you need to do. Just click this little drop-down area, make sure this is on recently touched. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of dragging it into event-based automation within the pattern, let's right click and let's remove this altogether. I'm actually going to drag it onto the track. Now what ends up happening here is we have an envelope that's nested on the main track. Now the benefit of doing it this way is, if you're looking at a pattern, let's remove our automation for a moment. Notice that I've just continuously dragged out this pattern, and the way that Studio One works is it will just indefinitely loop as long as you have this dragged out. What this gives you the ability to do is you can have different variations, but your actual automation will now be track-based. So I'm going to go to Show Hide Automation, and you can see the same parameter, sample transpose, is available to automate. So now what we can do is we can just zoom into the areas that we want, and I can just highlight across here. Use my trim tool. If you're not seeing this, you want to make sure that you have this little bracket selected up here in the smart arrow tool. And now you could actually automate these in different ways. So this could be down 5. This one could be, let's say, +3. So now what you end up having is a track-based automation that can be different depending on what you've automated. So let's have a listen to this. Now, one other thing that you can do, it takes a little bit of work, but let's say that you needed to automate each one of these differently, because this is just a static move where, let's say I've gone up 5. If I wanted to create different automation points for each one of these, this one could be, for example, 4, This one could be, for example, 3. This one could, for example, be 2. And now you're going to have this downward ramp where every single one of these repeats has a different pitch because we're transposing it. And all this is doing is just triggering the automation for the hi-hat closed pitch transpose parameter. You can see it right over here. So 2 different ways to work, either event-based, which will be linked to every pattern, or we can do this on the actual track. And then this is more of a linear way of automating. And the benefit for doing track-based is you can basically extend these pattern parts or these different variations in any way you want. And then you can dial in any automation that you want to do for any single one of these automation lanes, which represent a pitch in Impact XT. Anyways, that's all the time I have available for today. I hope that you enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll do my absolute best to get back to you. And as always, we will catch you in the next video. Cheers.